Hello everyone, Manathrall here, and welcome to another Suggestion Saturday video. This one is going to be about new skill releases, or just kind of like new content in general, mixed alongside with the completionists, whether it be trimmed or not, just regular completionists. You know, the different types of comp capes, if you will. And what I think, like, you know, the new releases are, and how it should actually be looked more at in a little bit of a different of a light. Right now, certain things will only have like a 3-month grace period, or maybe 6 months from release to when you have to have it either completed or etc. etc. And some things even take like nothing. And my suggestion for this week, and especially with like a new skill, there needs to be a little bit of a rework with the time frame with it. Where certain things, yes, it should be really fast, but with how RuneScape is, certain things can actually be left to go for longer. For example, skills. The people who are getting comp capes right away once a skill gets released within the first few months, you gotta understand what these people are doing is nothing but that skill for that long, which really kills that new skill for those people. So instead of making a new skill or new minigame comp within 3 to 6 months, let it be a full year. And this way, you know, people have plenty of time to get from, you know, 1 to 99 without having to grind away at it really hard. I mean, if it doesn't take that long, that's great, but, you know, an average player is only going to be spending maybe 1 to 2 hours per night on RuneScape. And that even might be on the high end of that, because not everybody has that much time per night. So that's why I would suggest to actually extend it out further. And also, not to mention, if it's actually released and you have a full year, that takes a lot of pressure off of completionist people. And if you do that, like, one thing Jagged's Head wanted to know before was about, like, the release date of skills. Like, how frequently would we like new skills? And the biggest thing I would say that is hurting the release of new skills is completionist. And not the people, but the comp requirements. So I think if they were to extend it to a full year from release of the skill, we could actually do one new skill per year. Now, I know some people would be saying, well, that's way too many new skills per year. But on the grand scale, what RuneScape is, what it can be, and how long it may or may not be around yet. New skills is one thing that RuneScape really thrives on and hurts it at the same time. Because a lot of the content within RuneScape is actually based around the different types of skills. So if you stop releasing new skills, you're kind of starting to hit a dead area where you're just going to be repeating more and more types of content, which is okay to an extent, but it makes it harder on a creator's perspective, at least in my opinion. Another thing that's really hurting the game right now, I would say, is the fact that the land. We have just the current Gielinor as we know it and nothing else. And it's been a while since it's actually expanded, especially a large, sizable chunk. So I think it would be time, you know, maybe after all the graphical reworks, which are still a lot that actually needs to be done graphically reworking, but maybe once things are all graphically reworked, then that would be the perfect time to start introducing new lands and exploring these new lands. And for me personally, a new land I would consider it have to be bigger than everything from the Lumbridge Swamp all the way up through Falador. Like, it would have to be just as big as that. So we're talking pretty much half the current map. Because, I mean, if you think about it, if you see this, like, this map is really filled out. But the problem with this is there's a lot of content that's starting to overlap. And it needs, in my opinion, it needs to expand. So if we even double this map, or even, well, not double, but have half the size of this map, or maybe even double it, it would drastically improve everything. Because, like, right now, everything is getting clustered. But I think if they were to do that, there should be, it would be like discovering a whole new area, like a whole new land. And we could build settlements and things could start to grow. And maybe every year there could be an expansion, if you will. And during that expansion, once per year, you could see, let's say we completely wiped this map clean of everything. Like, it was just another plain map like this. And let's say we landed right here where Soul Wars would be. First year, like first release, maybe let's say from Port Khazard all the way over. Well, not even Port Khazard. Let's just say Soul Wars, Feldip Hills South, and Ashdale. This would all be starting to be explored within the first year. You know, players could explore it, different resources, different materials, and then, you know, there'd be NPCs there kind of exploring too. And then what we could do from there is the following year, maybe all this area could get released. And then the following year, all this. And then, you know, so on and so forth. Like, so much per chunk. And then with that could come new skills. New things with current skills. New materials. A whole bunch of new of everything. Because right now, as a whole, Gielinor is getting pretty packed. Like, there's certain areas like this right here is kind of a little bit open yet. But one of the things that I always loved about RuneScape is the fact that it was big and it was open. Not everything was filled out. It was kind of like a wilderness thing. But now seeing how things are getting filled out, things are getting completed, you know, there's more and more settlements, which is fine. It kind of makes you look at it like a real world perspective. You know, things are growing, population's growing. That's why maybe within a new skill of, let's say, exploration, where, you know, you could be discovering these new lands. And let's say you could tie that in with, like, maybe archaeology, adventuring. You know, I couldn't, you know, really tell you what it would be as a whole to get this skill to 99, of course. Other than, you know, you go to different locations and you discover different things and you get XP each time you do it. But it could be from the grand scale of, you know, starting in the very beginning of discovering iron ore. Well, yeah, iron ore, bronze, well, copper and tin. Even these here mushrooms, you know, maybe there's something special you could do with those down the road. You know, you could pick those and they could be used for some sort of potion. But, of course, you know, that would tie back into completionist. I was getting back to the topic. But that could tie back into the completionist cape, you know, the trimmed comp cape, you know, all those types of capes. It could eventually lead back into that, which would mean, you know, you'd have a full year from each time, let's say, the new skill or new section would get released. You'd have a full year to complete that entirety of its content before you would go into the next area. So I would say every single time there's a monthly update, it should be at least, you know, if it's a smaller update, maybe like a quest you'd have like 2 weeks. You know, quest should have 2 weeks. Certain mini games should have a couple weeks or maybe a couple months depending on the requirement. And new skills definitely should have at least a year. And I just think if they were to take that route, now I know new skills probably won't be coming anytime soon, mostly just due to the fact that the unfinished business, which I would love to see a new skill, but I think there's so much unfinished business they should just stick with that. But I think with completionist capes, I do think it's time they actually start looking into the time frame of when things are being required to be done, because right now, like I said before, it's just way too tight. It's requiring people to play way too hard, every day for a certain skill just to get it there, or a certain mini game, and that is one thing that will kill a mini game, and it will kill a skill, and it could possibly even damage a game's reputation. At least in my opinion. Whether I'm right or not is a different story, but at least in my opinion, that's how I feel about it. Let me know what you guys think, and that'll actually do it for this video. Let me know what kind of time frames you think should be available for different, comp requirements. I'd actually be very interested in hearing, your thoughts and opinions on that. Do you think a year is too long for a skill, or do you think that sounds just about right for a casual player? Because, if you look at Invention, now this account isn't quite a year old yet, and level-wise, it's almost halfway to 120, which is the max for that. But let me know. Now it is an Iron Man account, so it will be a little bit slower, and it is a lower level. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, and until next time, later, guys.